What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Zaynomics Gaming. Today we have a fun build for you guys. Now we are on the Hunter class today, and essentially we want to take advantage of those artifact mods with all of the arc shenanigans that have been going on this season. Now everybody has seen the Assassin's Cowl build, but we are going to be swapping out Assassin's Cowl for Liar's Handshake, and I love Liar's Handshake. It's one of my favorite exotics for the Hunter class. And it synergizes so well with combination blow, and then also with the arc artifact mods that we have, as well as arc subclass 3.0. we are able to build some nasty stuff, a bunch of lightning strikes, and what better weapon to pair that with than Trinity Ghoul. With you being able to get a kill, you will always have lightning rod when you have that catalyst. I did review that bow not too long ago in my bow breakdown video. I know I have been working on part 2. I apologize for that. That will be out soon. But essentially with this build, we want to have constant health regeneration. We want to jolt targets as much as possible, and we also want to create as many lightning strikes potentially as we can. And when I say lightning strikes, of course I have the super, I do have Trinity Ghoul, as well as the combination blow punch, and I am using lethal current, so that does chain lightning between each other. Now I know typically when we talk about lightning strikes we're talking about aerial, but for me, I am just comparing to both. So I'm comparing aerial and horizontal strikes. So, you know, when you punch, obviously the strikes or the jolt, so to speak, is more horizontal. But to me, it's lightning. So it's chain lightning in some form or another. And that's what I consider it. Now, first and foremost, like I said, we are swapping out Assassin's Cowl for Liar's Handshake. And that was a typical build. A lot of people were using Assassin's Cowl. But I decided to use Liar's Handshake just because of the power that it has. And Liar's Handshake does state using your arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counter punch that will heal you. It also gives you increased mobility and increased resilience. Now, Assassin's Cowl does make you a god. It does turn you into a god for all of that harder content like Grandmasters and stuff like that. But Liar's Handshake does bring that fun factor for me. I enjoy getting the melee hits off, creating the arc, jolts, and all that stuff. It's just fun to use, and that's what I prefer. Now, for the weapon of choice, obviously Trinity Ghoul is a standout just because the catalyst allows you to have lightning rod based off of any arc kill, whether that be a grenade or your melee, super, anything related to an arc based kill, you will proc lightning rod with Trinity's Ghoul. And we did, like I said, we did go over that before. It is one of the best ad clearing weapons in the game, so if you don't have it already, definitely try to go out and actually get it. Like I said, it is a fantastic bow. Now, moving on from there, we are going to go over the aspects and the fragments that I'm using for this build to make it all synergize and work. But for the most part, you can just rock Liar's Handshake, whatever you want, and then Trinity's Ghoul, Wrist Runner, anything like that, and this build will still essentially work. But we do want to make it better. Now, first and foremost, with Liar's Handshake, you definitely want to use Gambler's Dodge. Basically, dodging near an enemy, you will get your melee back immediately. So you'll restore your melee. I think maybe there might be a nerf in the works for that, or a rework potentially at some point, just because of what Bungie has released the past couple of days regarding abilities and trying to get player feedback on the current sandbox and stuff like that. So don't be surprised if there's a nerf later on. However, as of right now, if you dodge near an enemy, you will get all of your melee energy back. I know in the background gameplay, you see me kind of just jumping around and acting a fool. I was really trying to get my teammates to invoke the darkness with me, but unfortunately that didn't pan out for this run. Now, moving on from Gambler's Dodge, for our melee ability, you definitely want to run Combination Blow. You can use Disorienting Blow, but I like Combination Blow just a little bit better, just because it has some more benefits. Now, Combination Blow states a quick strike that temporarily increases your melee damage when defeating a target stacking 3 times. Defeating targets with this ability also fully refills your class ability energy and restores a small amount of health, and the base cooldown is 40 seconds. Now you can see why that's important, just because if you have Gambler's Dodge, you are able to get your melee back. Well, with this melee, it does restore your class ability energy. So these two synergize very well together. Now this melee also restores a small amount of health, so that can help keep you alive. Now from here, we will go over our aspects, and our 2 aspects that we're going to use with this build is Lethal Current. Lethal Current states after dodging, your next melee attack has an increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging any jolted target with melee attacks also blinds them. And then we also have flow state. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you are more resilient while dodging, and your reload speed is greatly increased. Now, of course, as a reminder, jolting targets does actually stun overload champions, so keep that in mind if you plan on doing some more harder content in the future. That will take care of your overload slot, and you can see how both of these two aspects actually synergize with each other, as well as the gambler's dodge and the melee, especially with Liar's Handshake. So you're pretty much putting all of this together into one and creating a powerful melee build essentially. And you know, like I said, Assassin's Cowl, that was one of the cool ones, but for me, Liar's Handshake just puts in work. Now for our 4 fragments, we will be going with Spark of Ions, Spark of Feedback, Spark of Haste, and Spark of Shock. Now Spark of Ions does create a Ionic Trace after defeating a jolted target. Spark of Feedback states taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage, and it gives you a +10 to resilience. Spark of Haste gives you increased resilience, recovery, and mobility while sprinting, and Spark of Shock gives you, it allows you to jolt targets with your grenades. And as far as the grenade option goes, you can use really whatever you want. I recommend pulse grenades or the storm grenades. You can see in the background gameplay, I have been swapping between pulse and storm grenades, but you can see the synergy there with the melee. You can jolt targets, as well as using your grenades, you can jolt targets. Now, since we have Spark of Ions, we are able to create Ionic Traces upon jolting a target, which Ionic Traces feeds into our abilities, therefore giving us our class ability energy faster, our melee ability energy faster, and our grenade energy ability quicker. So it works very well with each other. And then, like I said, with Liar's Handshake, using your arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counter punch that will heal you. So you get the healing benefits, as well as always having some form of an ability to counter all of these foes. Especially with all of the arc damage, you'll be able to jolt tons of targets, create a bunch of Ionic Traces, orbs, all of that stuff, and you will constantly have your abilities up at all times. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering where the bow comes into play with all of this. So after you defeat a target with a melee or a grenade, you proc Lightning Rod. So essentially what I've been doing is dodging, you get lethal current. Then I follow up with a melee hit. Then I throw my grenade, and then at that point, somebody has died. Typically a smaller tier ad or some beefier ad has passed, and then at that point you will have Lightning Rod, and then I'll repeat the process. After I have Lightning Rod, I'll shoot the bow. I'll just do a quick little hip fire, proc the lightning strikes, dodge, proc lethal current, then follow up with the melee, and then throw another grenade. And I just keep the process rolling from there on out. And then also too, like I stated with Liar's Handshake, if you do get hit, you will be able to follow up with a melee counter punch. And with combination blows stacking up to 3 times, you gain those benefits, as well as getting that powerful hit off. Now, unfortunately with Liar's Handshake, it only lasts for 2 seconds. So you really got to follow up with that combo, but it does pay off, and you will be healed with that hit. So keep that in mind. Overall, this build is very fun to play with, and of course with our armor mods, we are speccing out for a lot of arc synergy mods, like the arc siphon and stuff like that. I will have a dim link below for the loadout that I am using. Now guys, that pretty much sums up the build, and like I said, it is very fun to play with, but it doesn't make you an unstoppable force, so to speak. Like you just seen in the background gameplay, I did die. I think I got stuck on the ledge or something like that, but like I said, it is a very fun build. You will always be amplified. You will always have your melee. Now, if you've seen any of my past videos, you know that sometimes I create builds that are more meta defining and really synergize well with the current meta that is going on inside the game. This build isn't one of those. It's pretty much one of the builds that is like fun. You just want to use it just because it's fun to use. And I think that's very important to consider all things when you're playing these video games, because we play them for enjoyment, and they are a way to escape reality. They're a form of entertainment, and with a build like this, it's just fun to play with. You can continuously play with this build and just have a good time. And sometimes I'll make videos to where we are more so just having fun, we're not really going for the main meta, and the main meta for this particular build would be Assassin's Cowl, of course, and it is a fantastic build as well, but it doesn't always have that fun factor that you're absolutely looking for. That's why I swapped Assassin's Cowl out for Liar's Handshake. Now, of course, for our special weapon, we could do a lot of different things. I could come out with a revised version of this and use Cold Heart, always get the Ionic Traces. We could use Risk Runner. There's other weapons that we could use to make it different, but I like the synergy with Trinity School and the Lightning Strikes. And of course, like I said, we could even use Thunderlord if we wanted to, but with the bow being a primary and then always getting Lightning Rod with arc melee abilities or grenades or your super, any type of arc kill, that's fantastic. You can always have your arc, always have that chain lightning, and that's what makes it fun. Now, last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, consider liking the video and also subscribing to my channel. It's a free way to support me and I greatly appreciate it. We will have more build videos coming out here soon. I try to post at least 5 videos a week. I hope you guys are enjoying the content overall. Also too, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I will see you all in the next video.